Your Excellency, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time out to meet with members of local, regional, and international press here present. As I have explained to members of the media, we will be taking a number of questions. Please, when you do, raise your hand. Please introduce yourself and the media house that you work for. Mr. President, we are ready if you'd like us to begin right away. Thank you, sir. So if we could please raise your hand. We'll start with Eugene.
Hi, my name is Eugene Anangwe, in Focus, Rwanda TV and KTN News. Mr. President, you challenged the youth at the RPF Congress to be actively involved in politics. And in the process of the conversations we've had with young people, even on the forums we hold, some of them have argued that politics for them is sort of not so interesting, while others have said they lack enough role models, young presidents who can inspire them to actually see it as something that they can be involved in. They look at the age bracket of African leaders and they feel like these leaders don't seem to want to actually inspire us to be part of this process. I want to ask you, in your own capacity, as you challenge them, what are you going to do personally to change this narrative? Are you going to put up sort of a leadership foundation that will train young people to start getting more involved in politics? Or what will you do in person to actually change this narrative? Thank you, Mr. President.
Let me begin by saying what I believe, and that is you will find politics affecting everything as we know it in daily life. Even when you are out there doing your own business, what you meet in the field of doing business, part of it will be politics. Even if you are a doctor, a medical doctor, doing your job in a clinic, in a hospital, even if you call it private, you will meet politics, one way or another, affecting you. It doesn't matter where you will be, you will find politics is always there knocking at your door. It affects you one way or the other. It affects the economy, it affects the social structures, it affects everything. That is my belief as I have seen it. So there is no way you are going to say, I'll be somewhere, I'll be doing something on my own. I have nothing to do with politics. Politics will have something to do with you anyway. So you better have something to do with the politics yourself, in reverse. And when I was talking about or urging the young people of Rwanda to get involved in politics more actively, and it's not the first time anywhere I have said this. I have said it many times before. And not only young people, it's everybody. Everybody needs to get involved or choose how to get involved. I'm not choosing for anybody how to get involved. I'm only saying people get involved. And how you get involved is your business. It's not mine. I can only urge you, I can only remind that get involved in politics and get involved in good politics, because there is also good politics and bad politics. Now, role models, I'm aware of what that means, but let's not just take it too far and assume that that's what defines everything, that is what defines whether people get involved or not. Some of those become role models simply because they have made the choice to get involved and get involved the right way. Not even necessarily that they had to follow one or the other role model. And to say there are no young people in leadership, therefore that would be the reason to not call upon young people to get involved. I think it should be seen the other way around. In fact, if you are saying there are no role models or no young people to emulate and follow, well, then the meaning of what I was saying was to say, create it. Create that situation where people get involved. If I go by your assertion that actually there's nothing out there to follow, then find it, create it. That is my message. Would the message, a better message, be to say, well, since there is no role model we can follow, since everybody out there is, very old, I don't know where you start counting, at what age people are said to be. That's a subject for another day. But if you are going to say, since they are not there, if I use what you are saying, therefore we should do nothing about it, then I would beg to differ. I would actually say maybe that is the very reason people need to get involved, so that what we say is not there is actually made to be there. And let's assume, as you have said, everybody is old and there's nothing to follow. But I think we should also accept that what these old people have served, or if they have failed to serve that purpose, that's a different question. But I think there is always going to be upbringing of young people, whether they are in politics, as I would wish them to be, and actively so, or not. Even if you're not in politics, I think the point is there should be some kind of upbringing. Even if you are just saying, oh, me, I'm not in politics, I'm an ordinary citizen doing my own things, still there is a certain level of expectation in the society about your conduct, your behavior in relation to others in a society. So that upbringing normally would come from people you would wish to dismiss, that these are old people, they have nothing to offer. I don't think so. I don't agree. There is a lot to offer, or a lot has been offered, but maybe it's being wasted. Why don't you find something good in what these people have offered over the years, and in actual fact, then prepare yourself to take over from them. You see, the argument is very broad. I could take a whole day here talking about that, but I don't agree that the argument or against what I said, urging young people to participate in politics, would be to say, oh no, we don't have role models, we don't have this thing to follow, whatever it is, I think, in my view, all we have done, for example, in RPF or in the country here, sorry, in Rwanda, has been about educating people, urging people to have a clear view, to participate, to be good citizens of our country in whatever they are going to do. So really, in that message alone, there's something people could grab and run with to address this broader question that was. So, but if the situation is going to be that where people are looking for excuses, you say, no, there's this problem, there is that problem, there are, only old people, we don't have anybody to follow, which is not true in actual fact. Everything is there. When the country is investing in people for education, when the country is urging people to practice good politics, when, where I said that last time at the Rwandan Patriotic Front headquarters, I'm sure you realized and you were told that there is even a center for development of cadres. That means really something is on the agenda or has been on the agenda all the time, but if you don't want to see it, that's a different problem. We have done everything to invest in our young people. If you look at our national budget, you will find education consumes education and health, consumes the biggest chunks of our national budget. Messages every day we give to the people who want anyway to receive them, who want to listen, are all about that. So I can't find any excuse where people would sit back and say, oh, unless you've really lifted me from here and raised me to this level, then, or you put something to lift me to this. I don't think society works like that. And it doesn't matter where you are saying that seated, it doesn't happen that way wherever you will be. Whether you say it sitting in Russia or France or Canada or US or China, when you say that, you should be aware that even where you are sitting, it doesn't happen that way. And in any case, it shouldn't happen that way. You don't develop people by just always, holding their hand every stage and making these people feel that if you have failed to hold their hand and keep, then when things go wrong, then it is your problem, it's not theirs. And in fact, with the young people, one thing that needs also to be done away with is this feeling of, there is some false sense of entitlement. It's like, oh, I'm not doing this because somebody else has not done this for me, has not shown me what I should be doing, or has not prepared for me the ground on which to walk comfortably. No, if you want to be productive, if you want to grow up with the level of decency that will give you the tools to work with in life and prepare you to that level of being a leader, stop having a sense of entitlement. That somebody every time, everywhere owes you something. Because if you were to go by that, then everybody else owes everyone else something. So who is responsible? So that is the for me, the message is the same. There are certain things, it's like you want to do business, or you want initial capital to, start your business. But if somebody gives you capital to start a business, which is very important to begin with, and when your business meets some difficulties, if the only way out of it is going to turn around and blame the one who gave you the capital, that they did not follow up on you to make sure that you are doing right things, what is your responsibility? I think at every level, every time there's going to be responsibility for everyone, and stop thinking that somebody else owes you this or that. There is what should come from you, and probably that is the biggest part. I think I have said probably more than enough. You didn't need all that much, but...
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We'll take another question from this side. Collins, over here, please.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Collins Moy from the New Times Daily. I have a brief question. In light of the ongoing African Union reforms.
You have a microphone. Try to speak clearly. It is on. Just.
Thank you, sir. In light of the African Union reforms that are going on, and in the interest of making sure that no African countries is left behind in the ongoing socio-economic progress, in the event that you win the August elections, what do you envision will be your role, going on forward with the continental work? And still on the same, Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania are trade with the American government is currently under review because of. And AGOA, it's currently under review because of the stance by the countries to ban second-hand clothes imports. What are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
First, may I request something? I find it bizarre. There is a wall of people here, and there are people sitting behind them. I want to have a conversation. Maybe is there a way of coming down? Oh, you can lower those legs of that camera. And then we shall, or come somewhere here in the center or somewhere so that we have a good conversation while we are looking at each other directly. Okay, that looks much better.
Thank you, sir.
For the African Union reform process, one, this was something created and demanded by the African leaders themselves. So it's really Africans' agenda. They are the ones who demanded that. All they did was to select me and say, can you give us proposals? Which I did. There could have been many others to do it. There's nothing special that put me in that position. It could have been any one of the leaders who were here last July when the AU summit was taking place. So when I gave the proposals, I was supported by a team of African men and women who have different backgrounds and who could bring something to bear on this process the way it was required. And you are obscuring somebody who asked the question. Step somewhere else and so when I presented the proposals and were unanimously accepted, there is then another process to do with implementation of that. They also asked me simply to follow up that process. But I mentioned to the heads of state, and this is what I believe at that time. You see, for me, they're actually asking me to do a very simple thing. The bigger thing is going to be done by them. For me to sit down with a team of people and propose good ideas, is a simple process. Sitting back, it's like the work is for many of you. When you have to sit back and criticize things, you are doing a decent job, but it's simple. It's simple to criticize. It's simple to tell others what maybe should be done. Now, the bigger part comes when you have to do it. So I was telling the leaders that what they asked me is simple. One, give proposals, that's fine. Two, follow up. And what I understood by that, follow up is really to make, investigation about who is doing what, relating to the proposals they accepted, and report back to them and say, well, you know what, at this point, on this issue, we are at this stage, we are at this level, this is what is being done, so these ones did well to this level, these ones haven't moved much, and I leave it at that, because those are the limits of what I have to do. So what I therefore mean by saying they have to do more than actually I have done is that they are the implementers. They are the ones to make things happen. It's not me. It's like you have somebody, a referee in the field, people are playing football, and for you, you're just saying, no, that's what you did. First of all, the referees are not the ones who set the rules. Then secondly, the referee is just entrusted with the responsibility of making sure that the people in the field are following the rules. So those to follow the rules have the bigger task than the referee, actually. You see what I mean? Yes. To ensure that you are doing the right thing and maybe in the end emerge as the winner of this game over which somebody is refereeing is the harder task. The referee will run around just looking at whether we are setting up, we are following the rules set up by maybe somebody else, but which we accepted, and that's it. So that is to do with the reform. But so far, I should add, one, the fact that the leaders of Africa found it necessary that we can do things differently, and we have to do things differently, and in a better way, for me, that's a very big step, and it's a very good one. The mere fact of the statement of intent to do better, to do things differently, to move forward is huge. It's a big thing. The second part is actually leaders or countries are already doing things in that way that they wanted, only that we are all at still a low level, we want to move higher into that. So that's again another very interesting and very important step for me. So it's a process. It's not an easy process. We have to deal with each other, who look at things differently, who do things, again, understand and do things differently. We have to deal with external factors that have affected us for a long time and still affect us. So it is not easy, but it's doable, and I think something is already happening, and even next beginning of July, soon, in a few days, we will be having a meeting at the AU, and I am expected to come and give a report of on the state of affairs. So I'll do that, and maybe from there, the leaders will decide what next should happen. And that's okay. The second part of the second question, this is what I said. There are things we have to do, and there are things that we do that will always be affected by external factors, as I pointed to earlier. But in any case, people will have to keep making choices. What you do, how you do it, and how you deal with all these different factors that affect what you are doing. There is AGOA. There is the meaning of it to us and to those who offered it to Africa. To begin with, it was a good thing. We appreciated it. Even if there are probably fewer people who benefited from it than most across Africa. If you asked me where Rwanda stood on that, I don't think I benefited as much as those who produce oil or other things that those who offered AGOA were more interested in than what I have to offer. But overall, I was saying it was a good thing. So there is a calculation of how much did you get from this. That's one part. The other part is Rwanda or other countries in the region or in Africa that were part of this AGOA. They have to do other things. We have to grow our economies. We have to grow and establish our industries as the bigger thing, in actual fact. So if I'm going to establish a process by which our industries are going to grow, and one of them is, say, textile industry. And somebody says, no, if you do that, I'll punish you because my country, under that initial arrangement of AGOA, or even if they are not related at all, you were supposed to be some sort of dumping ground for second-hand clothes so that you are on the list to benefit from AGOA. Then here we have an argument. We will be very polite, we will be appreciating AGOA, but there is a bigger thing here, for me, for Rwanda, to grow industries or to grow textile industries for that matter. So we are put in a situation where you have to choose. Do you choose to be a recipient of second-hand clothes with the threat hanging that if you don't, you will not qualify for AGOA? Or do you choose to say, no, I think I'd have to grow my textile industries, and Rwandans deserve this, at the expense of being a part of AGOA? This is the choice we find we have to make. And as far as I'm concerned, making a choice in these circumstances is simple. It's difficult overall with whatever comes out of it. I'm not in any way minimizing the consequences. I'm only saying, even when confronted with the difficult choices, there is always a way to break through that and say, no, this is where I belong, no matter what the consequence of the other one is. This is where we find ourselves. But I'll give you another example quickly. You remember way back, we had the situation where, I speak for Rwanda, I don't know what happens in other countries, or even if I would know, let me not be part of that. We used to be a good recipient of food aid. Does anybody here remember? In which case, some country would say, we are giving you $50 million of aid, and you would think this is the money coming so that you deploy it where you really need it most. But then when you wake up, they tell you, no, what we meant was containers of food worth that much that should be coming to you. And then we said, oh, but we are trying to grow our agriculture. We are trying to create food security for our country. So if we are growing rice, matoke, what have you, and then you bring your food from somewhere and dump it on the market, one, you are really killing our food market, and you are killing our agriculture. He said, don't you think you need to look at things differently? We appreciate food aid when there is a disaster, there is a humanitarian situation that we have to address because maybe we haven't produced enough, or we had a drought, or other problems. We have had many problems in our past. But why should you make it a routine to ship food to us in the name of food aid, in the name of so much in dollars, and you say, no, you must take this, you must accept it. If you don't, then we will have problems with you. I don't think it's not correct, it's not fair, and maybe at times you have to face the consequences of that in order what happens when there's a backlash, in order actually to be able to move forward. This is why I was saying, even when I was talking about the difficult choices people have got to make, and I was answering one question earlier, we will have to confront situations as they come, bearing in mind that there are difficulties that we'll have to face and manage. But that's the only way we can be able to move forward. nothing is going to come so easily to us, and it's only fair to say that, and because that's what happens. So in the AGOA and what will happen when we do these things, if it is because of that, maybe it is, but I think it's pretty simple for some of us to know which way to go.
Well, we'll take a question from the back there, Stephanie.
Thank you. Stephanie Aglietti from AFP and RFI. Going back to the presidential election, one of the candidates for this presidency, Diane Rigarin, denounced pressure against...
Did what?
She denounced pressures.
Denounced?
She denounced,
okay.
Yes, pressures against her members and supporters by local...
Against?
Her members or supporters.
Her supporters?
Yes.
Okay.
By local authorities, which are members of RPF, and she denounced even illegal arrest by security forces, still on her supporters.
Illegal arrest of her supporters.
Mm-hmm. So, and this happened while she was collecting signature. So, as incumbent president and chairman of RPF, I just wanted to have your reaction on that. Thank you.
Okay. Let me assume what you are saying is correct. I only can assume. There are no other indications that I have to believe you. If anybody who aspired to be a candidate, a presidential candidate, whether it is that lady or anybody else, and met these obstacles unfairly, whether members arrested or harassed or denied their rights, I'm sure you understand that I will tell you that it is absolutely wrong. It would be wrong. It would be wrong on the part of these individuals who did it, and in fact, if they should be known, they should be held accountable for it. Whether it is RPF members or whichever members of our society, it's not correct that they should do that. So that is my simple answer. I think as we got involved in this or anything else, we have always wanted our country to be a country of laws. We want to create a country where a rule of law comes first. So if anybody was denied their right, or herself directly or her supporters, it's absolutely wrong and should be addressed. And those who are involved in it, the law should take its own course. That I'm saying it as a candidate of RPF, I'm saying it as currently the president, I'm saying it even as a person. So I don't agree with you.
We'll take a question from the front. Let's have Kagame.
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika na Chairman wa RPF. Mu myaka ibiri ishize abanyarwanda bagaragaje ko mufite ubudasa mu miyoborere ndetse na RPF, ndetse bifuza ko iteko nshinga rivamo inzitizi, namwe muvuga ko nta kuntu mutabyemera. Nyakubahwa Perezida, uyu munsi mutanze candidature yanyu. Nagira ngo numve uko mwumva mumeze mu gihe musubije ikibazo gikomeye abanyarwanda bibazaga, ariko nanone bihuze n'ikiri muherutse kuvuga mu nama nkuru ya RPF, muvuga muti mutanga umukoro musaba ko habaho ubufatanye mu gusubiza ibyo bibazo bituma babasaba gukomeza kuba ku buyobozi. Murabihuza gute kuba mutanze candidature ariko kandi nuriya mukoro mwahaye abanyarwanda ndetse n'abanyamuryango ba RPF muri rusange? Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika.
Ariko icyo kibazo naragishubize nyine, mu byo navuze nasubizaga icyo kibazo, ntabwo nari nzi kuzakimbaza, ariko nicyo nasubizaga. Icya mbere uko mbyumva uko nabyumvise kiriya gihe mbivuga, uko mbyumva ubu nuko nzabyumva ejo, nuko mu buzima bw'igihugu, muri politics nk'uko tubizi, haba hano haba no mu bindi bice by'isi turimo, hari ibintu bigenda bihinduka muri ubwo buzima bw'igihugu, aho ariho hose, haba muri politiki, haba no mu bindi bice, iteka habaho bihinduka, bikagira igihe, bikagira ibigena igihe, bikagira, ntabwo ibintu bihoraho uko bimeze igihe cyose. Rero nibyo navugaga, nifuzaga ko gukomeza ibyiza by'igihugu tugenda tugeraho, uko tugenda twiyubaka n'aho tuvuye, hari byinshi n'ubundi bigenda bihinduka, bikagira n'igihe cyabyo. Igihe cyabyo rero no kukigena ubundi biragorana. Ubuzima bw'igihugu, imibereho y'abantu, bijyanye n'amateka yacu, kubiha itariki runaka, kuvuga ngo iki gihe ni iki, ubukene twari dufite mu gihugu buzaba bwarangiye, buri wese ntabwo wabiha itariki. N'itariki zishyirwaho ni izigenderwaho zituma ibikorwa bikorwa ku buryo runaka, noneho bigatanga n'igipimo, ariko ntabwo iteka bihura n'iyo tariki ngo uvuge ngo icyo wifuzaga cyabaye kuri iyi tariki wavuze, kubera ko bitera iyo mpinduka kuba ibyinshi ntawe ubifiteho ubushobozi, hari bibaho uko bimeze tutagena mu bushobozi. Ibyo rero umbaza uko numva ameze, ni nk'ubusanzwe, ubusanzwe ni kwikorera umugogoro w'inshingano, wenda uko mbyumva, wenda abandi babyumva ukundi, ariko ntabwo biba byoroshye. Ariko kubera impamvu yabyo n'icyo abantu bashaka kugeraho, akaba ari byo bifite uburemere busumbye twese cyangwa byose, wemera guhangana n'uwo mugogoro kubera inyungu cyangwa se icyo abantu baba bashyizeho amaso kiruta ibintu byose, ibiva mu mbaraga z'abantu baba bakoresheje cyangwa uko baba bakoranye kugira ngo bagere ku cyo bifuza. Kuri iyi rero, ariko nanone muri politiki tutanabiciye n'uruhande, ari abayobozi ari n'abayoborwa bose barakenerana, buri umwe aba akeneye undi. Icyo navuga rero, abantu mu gukorera hamwe bimaze kugaragara mu gihugu cyacu, ni nacyo nibwira ko kivamo imbaraga nyinshi zitugeza kuri byinshi kurusha icyo ari cyo kindi icyo ari cyo cyose. Ariko hagati y'ubuyobozi n'abaturage b'igihugu, iyo hari icyizere, nicyo gituma ibi byose bigerwaho abantu bifuza kugeraho. Navuga rero ko icyo cyizere kiri hagati y'abantu n'ubuyobozi, ubundi cyoroshya biriya navugaga byo kwikorera umuzigo w'ubuyobozi, birabyoroshya. Ntabwo numva nikoreye amatoni y'ibibazo ku buryo biri hafi kunca umugongo, kubera ko hari abandi bafite nabo uruhare bagira muri byo. Ntabwo rero numva byaba igitangaza cyane, wenda ni nacyo cyatumye nabyemera ko aho mbisabiwe ko nakomeza kuko numvaga nta kintu kindi cy'igitangaza cyatuma umuntu atakwemera ibyo ngibyo. Ariko icyo naje kurangirizaho navugaga ko dukomeza muri ubwo buryo gushaka mbese kongera imikorere, kurushaho imbaraga, abantu bakava mu bintu bimwe na bimwe bitutandukanya cyangwa bituca intege cyangwa bituma biturangaza cyangwa waranenge kuvuga ngo cyangwa bitera umwijuto wese sinzi uko nawubuza kubaho. Abagira umwijuto bakabuza gukora ibintu bizima ntibagira ikibatangira cyoroshye, ntabwo byoroshye, ariko ni bakeya. Icyo navuga ni uko umubare utakwiyongera gusa, ariko igihe ibindi nibwira ko dukoze tugakorana imbaraga tukarushaho noneho icyo gihe uko tugenda dutera imbere, uko duhitamo byashobora kugenda bitandukana bitewe n'aho tugeze mu gukemura ibibazo runaka.
I will take another question. We become this side. Arnold.
Thank you. I'm Arnold Sago with CNBC Africa. Your Excellency, you just received a hero's welcome here as you do announce your candidature. But as a business journalist, I have to ask, in the next 7 years, walk us through some of the reforms that we might be seeing maybe in the next 7 years. Are we going to see more consolidation when it comes to maybe touching more people out there at the grassroots come the next 7 years, if at all, when and if you are re-elected?
There are things that maybe there are echoes. There are things I'm not hearing correctly. I'm not hearing well.
Your Excellency, I hope you can hear me better now. Can you hear me better? Yes. You just received a hero's welcome here today, and I have to inquire about the next 7 years, if and when you are re-elected the president. What reforms should we be looking at when it comes to maybe financial and economic reforms to make sure that more people are actually touched on the grassroots, if at all you are re-elected, and that's of course for the 7 years. Then the next question is more abstract. If you were to step aside from your seat right now as the president of Rwanda, how would you critique your government? What are some of the challenges that you actually would see with the past 7 years and the presidency as it is right now? Thank you.
Well, to begin with the last one, my critique would be that probably more was done than was expected. To be honest, I think, looking back, I think Rwanda, we have done better and more than the means we had suggested. That is my understanding. So in other words, we've really stretched ourselves to the extreme limits. But that is to say, if you went into smaller details, one thing here and there, but that's where you will find some of the things you want to talk about. But I don't go for these small things. I'm looking at the big picture. The big picture gives me the sense that there was probably more done than our means. And I'm comparing ourselves with ourselves before I compare ourselves with other people, which I don't normally want to do. So I'm just talking about looking at the internal dynamics and what was at our disposal to use as the means, and then the outcomes. Now, the first question, the part you started with, I think reforms have been taking place ever since, as I remember. And so far, if you look at, and that has been given a sort of time frame. If we look at our Vision 2020, which we started with, and we have a couple of more years to go, to be able to look back and say, did we achieve what we set out to, or how much of it did we? And therefore, what were the obstacles? What were the challenges? And we need to adjust accordingly to make sure that we improve our situation. So reforms should be seen in that sense. What do we change in order to get what we were not able to within the circumstances we were operating? Or is it there? You don't just do reforms for the sake of it. You do it demanded by these measures you have to look at to give you a sense of where you came from, where you were, and where you wanted to be. So the next 7 years would be building on that assessment, where we are, where we have been, where we wanted to be in that time frame of 20 years, which is remaining with a couple of years. So I get a sense that there is no reason for anyone to despair, to feel that there is a situation of frustration or that should make people desperate about anything. I don't think so. I think we should rather operate from a sense of saying every day there is something to deal with. There are challenges. But there have been opportunities and there have been good results as well. So we can, and I think it's not unique to Rwanda, it's everywhere else. People keep turning pages and sometimes rewriting things depending on whether you've been able to follow correctly your path and are able to judge what has happened, what has not, and why.
If you agree, sir, we'll just take 2 more questions and then conclude. We'll take one from the corner there.
If we could, maybe I also improve on my answers by being shorter, but if we could take more questions, I can see more hands coming up.
Yes, sir. We'll start in the corner there. Let's have Malo.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Nitwa Umucunguzi Malo, ndi umunyamakuru nkorera Igihe. Nifuje kubabaza ku bigendanye n'umutekano mu karere ka Rusizi. Hashize umunsi umwe twumvisha abantu ko bahuye n'ibibazo, umwe aza kwitaba Imana, ndetse harashize n'umezi make ibibazo nk'ibyo byongeye kubaho. Twifuje kubabaza se ibintu nk'ibyo mu bitekerezaho iki, se abaturage baho ni nk'ubuhe butumwa mubafitiye? Murakoze.
Abaturage mu karere ka Rusizi bagize ibibazo ejo bundi by'umutekano muke. Ubutumwa tubafitiye ni nk'ubu dufitiye abanyarwanda bose, aho umutekano utabonetse uko bikwiye, ni ikibazo twumva twakwihutira gushakira umuti. N'icyo kibazo nacyo cyabaye muri Rusizi nacyo kizabonerwa umuti. Sinibwira ko bizasubiramo kabiri gatatu. nta buryo bwo kugikemura cyangwa nta ababitera batarumva ko bidakwiye. Amakuru dufite ubu byaturutse hanze, hari abanyarwanda bakoranye n'abo baturutse hanze gutera ibyo bibazo, bateye grenade, barashe abantu, hari abakomeretse, hari abapfuye, hari n'abafashwe babigizemo uruhare, hari abamaze gufatwa. Turacyakurikirana neza kugira ngo tumenye ukuri kwabyo, hanyuma hari uburyo bigenda bikemurwa bitewe n'urwego bigomba gukorerwaho.
Let's have Ivan, East African.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Ivan Mojisha. I work for the East African. I have one question. In your view, I'd like to know what issues or challenges does the RPF have in its leadership structure, which it must address in the coming 7 years, so that your wish and the party's wish of pinpointing a worthy successor comes to pass. Thank you.
Again, I'm only having to repeat what I said. You are making me repeat what I said. What I said even last time was to say there are a number of things that will determine the successor, but they are based on one important factor. Let me start, because I was listening to some of the debates that go on and they are related with the answer I wanted to give. When somebody said, you said, no, it's like all, this is a simple thing. Definitely there is somebody who can take over from the president, from the chairman of RPF. What is this fuss about? There definitely there is somebody. Then let me even agree with you. And maybe it's a fair point. Yes. So why don't you offer yourself to actually do that? I'm saying, if I would be there arguing that, I would also offer myself to actually show, because there is a process. There is how it happens. I would convince people that no, there is a way to achieve this. There are people. And therefore, if there are people and if there is a way to achieve this, why doesn't it happen? Why doesn't it happen even by this one suggesting it, offering himself? Then you can work backward and say, well, what needs to be done is this. All right? Therefore, when I was talking to the RPF and saying, actually, people participating is another form of offering themselves. When you are participating, when you are there, because RPF is an organization of human beings, of people, and in fact, within its methods of work, there has always been, as I know, urging people to show up, to be there, to participate, to offer themselves. When people don't, for other reasons, when, for example, some people say, well, for me, politics is something I don't like, maybe based on even the wrong definition of politics in the first place. And say, no, for me, that's something that requires all kinds of things I don't like or don't want to associate with. Then you don't start blaming RPF entirely for that, but rather the other one who thinks like that. So RPF needs members, cadres, who really show up and offer themselves and participate, get involved in the right way and use the opportunities that are open there to do that. That's what I was encouraging people to do. That's what more of what we should be doing as RPF. So and even for the RPF members to take a moment or time to keep reflecting on this, their involvement and the progression of things to the extent that when that time comes, you can have the right people, different people, new people, as I think it should be. So it's more broad than just picking one single thing and saying this is what should happen. Much as I tell people to participate in politics broadly, it is really a broad thing. It's a complex thing. It's not. You don't just add up numbers and get the answers. No, you don't. It's not mathematics. It's politics is a different situation altogether. It's not. If it was easy, or if it was black and white, and you are either here or there, and I think the bigger part is in between. Is the gray part. So this is what makes it probably complex.
I will have a question in front.
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, nitwa Jean Dodier Karinijabo, nkorera TV1 na Radio 1. Ikibazo cyanjye kiragaruka ku ngingo irebana n'umuriro w'amashanyarazi muri manifesto y'umuryango wa RPF Inkotanyi mu mwaka wa 2010 harimo umuhigo cyangwa ingamba yavugaga ko mu 2017 umuriro w'amashanyarazi uzaba ugeze ku kigero cya 70%. Kugeza ubu imibare iragaragaza ko uyu muriro w'amashanyarazi uri kuri 33%. Ni izihe mbogamizi zabayemo zatumye iyo 70% itagerwaho? Mwizera ko nimuramuka mwongeye gutorerwa indi manda yo kuyobora u Rwanda noneho icyo kintu kizagerwaho cya 70%? Murakoze.
Ya 33% niba wibuka neza byari bivuye hehe? Literally kubusa. So I think to begin with that, I mean, umuntu ahereye no kuri ibyo ubwo ni intambwe nini yatewe, ariko ndibwira ko n'ubu hari byinshi bikorwa bitarajya muri iyo mibare 33%. Hari ibyiyongereyeho aho tuvugira aha, hari n'ibiziyongeraho mu minsi mike iza. Ugiye kureba nko muri uyu mujyi ubwawo uheruka amashanyarazi agera henshi cyangwa anamaraho igihe ataracika ryari ngira ngo hashize igihe bigaragara ko hari ibyiyongereye, ariko imbogamizi wabajije zo, imbogamizi zo ziba zihari iteka. Imbogamizi ya mbere, amikoro ataboneka nk'uko umuntu yibwiraga cyangwa yashatse. Icya kabiri, niyo amikoro yafite, kugira ngo wubake aho amashanyarazi akomoka, ntabwo, kubera ko ufite amafaranga niyo waba uyafite kashi, uyafite aho, ntabwo amashanyarazi ahera ko aboneka, habamo kubaka ibiduha amashanyarazi biri mu myaka 2, 3 bitewe n'aho aturuka cyangwa se nuko azavamo azaba angana. Izo ni imbogamizi rero zigenda zivuka kenshi, aricyo wabazaga, ariko intego yo iracyari ya yindi. Ubundi ni ikibazo cyo gushaka kwihuta, hanyuma nyine ugahura na kwa kuri kuko hari ibintu bimwe utagena, udafitiye ubushobozi igihe cyose, ugakora ibishoboka. Twakoze ibishoboka rero, byazamuye amashanyarazi biyavana ku busa bikaba bitugejeje aho tugeze ubu. Turacyakomeza, turacyashaka kwihutisha amashanyarazi ndetse no gushaka kugira ngo agere no ku banyarwanda benshi ndetse bizabe bose igihe cyari. Iyo ntego irahari, iragaragara, hari inzira yayo. Bigenda bijyana n'ibindi bintu, nk'iyo tuvuga biriya ureba, tujya tuvuga imiturire y'abantu, nayo ijyanye n'ukuntu byoroha cyangwa bikomera kubagezaho amashanyarazi. Y'abantu buri wese atuye ukwe hirya no hino, hari uburyo bagezaho amashanyarazi, kuko harava ku mirasire y'izuba, ushobora kugenda ugashyira kuri buri nzu solar panels zishobora gutanga amashanyarazi. Ariko hari andi mashanyarazi ugomba kunyuza mu nsinga z'amashanyarazi kugira ngo agere aho bagera. Byose iyo abantu bahereye ku busa nk'ubwo twahereyeho, ntabwo byoroha kugira ngo urashaka gutanga amashanyarazi, urubaka imiyoboro nyine iyatwara kugira aho ugera, urubaka kuri buri nzu aho iri. Mbere rero twashaka no gutuza imiturire y'abantu no kubagezaho amashanyarazi cyangwa ibindi bikorwa remezo. Ariko inzira iracyahari, ndibwira ko muri iyi myaka 7 ho igiye kuza, ndibwira ko 70% ntabwo byaba ari igitangaza ko tuzanabirenza.
We'll take the last question. We'll take it from here, Clément.
Thanks a lot, President. My name is Clement and I work for Reuters. It's not also to make you repeat, I'm also coming back to your speech when you were nominated by the RPF. If I got you clearly, you said there won't be shortcut, and you were referring to getting a successor after 7 years. Mr. President, does it mean you are stepping down after 7 years? And if you allow, do you have a message to DRC? They are the neighbors to Rwanda, and they are always in trouble. The politics, they failed to organize elections, and some African leaders have called on the government to hold elections. What's your message to DRC? Thanks.
Well, first of all, no message to DRC. Let's put that to rest. So let's go for number 2. There will be no shortcuts, and referring to my succession alone is a misrepresentation of what I said. in fact, when I talked about no shortcuts, it was broad. It was to talk about achieving what we want to achieve in a broad sense. And that's why it was accompanied by saying, whatever you wish for, you've got to work towards it. You've got to do things towards that. So this was in a general sense. I talked about no shortcuts, and I talked about doing things and not sitting back and hoping that some luck will deliver something. So to just zero it on succession, I think is not a correct presentation, much as I would wish that even with that, there are no shortcuts. I don't want shortcuts for anything. And that's why I was just urging people to do what they ought to and invest themselves into doing it. In fact, that's why I was even telling young people to invest themselves. If they want to be somewhere, if they want to see change, and when I'm talking about change, I didn't talk about any date, I didn't talk about any framework, I was just saying no shortcut. Shortcut could be 7 years, shortcut could be 10, shortcut could be 3, and so on. It depends on what you have to deal with. So this is really what I was talking about. The central message for my no shortcut was just to do things the way they should be done and get involved in doing them. Don't get involved in a blame game and start saying, oh, you know, it's because of the other one, it's not because of me. Then everyone keeps blaming the other, and in the end, nobody is responsible. So that's really what I, and I think that is also the essence of organization. When you have an organization, when you have, say, the RPF must work in a certain way that it brings together all these views and agree on the meaning of those views and how to act on them to achieve what they intend to do that, what they intend to achieve from it. This is different from having to deal with dates and time frames, or if you will, time frames then come from still those considerations and deliberations that people get involved in. So you took me back to that, but that's okay.
Thank you, Your Excellency. If, with your permission, maybe we can conclude here.
You seem to be in a hurry, but
no, sir.
Let's have, if there are any urgent, you can still pick 1, 2.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's have the gentleman in the middle.
I don't want to be accused of shortcuts.
Sure. Murakoze cyane. Nitwa Oswald Mutuyezu, nkora kuri City Radio. Muri manifesto yavuzwe mbere yuko babimika ngo mufate ibendera ry'umuryango wa RPF Inkotanyi muri amatora yo mu kwa 8. Mwavuze ko mwarimu n'abaforomo n'abaganga bazitabwaho by'umwihariko. Ariko hari ikibazo mwigeze kuvugaho kigomba gukemuka ariko cyagarutse. Cya kizamini gishyira ababyaza, abaforomokazi n'abaforomo mu kazi. Ejo bundi cyarakoreshejwe hakora abantu 1360 barenga, hatsinda 173 kandi bamwe bari mu kazi. Bivuga ko tuvurwa n'abantu babaswa batsindwa. bize muri kaminuza baratsinda ariko babahaye kino kizamini baragitsindwa. Iki kintu sinzi icyo muza kugikoraho nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika. Kirajyana kandi n'ubwiyongere bw'abaturage b'u Rwanda. Abantu bakunda gutera urwenya ariko bari ukuri ko buri mwaka havuka impinja zingana n'abaturage b'akarere ka Muhanga. Muri iyi myaka 7 iki kintu cy'ubwiyongere bw'abaturage muzagikoraho iki nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika? Murakoze.
Umunsi twakoresheje ikizame cy'abanyamakuru abazatsinda sinzi. ubwo nabyo tuzabibona tubigezeho. Ariko n'ibyo uvuga bishobora kuba birimo ukuri, wenda si no mu bijyanye n'ubuzima gusa, hari n'ahandi ugiye ujya muri buri sekiteri y'ubukungu bw'igihugu cyacu wasanga ugiye aha ibintu ntabwo bikorwa neza nk'uko tuba tubyifuza cyangwa biba bikwiye. Haba harimo intege nkeya kenshi, urazisanga ahantu hose rwose. Ntabwo bintangaje ko byaba biri mu by'ubuvuzi, ariko urumva bajya kubakoresha ibizame, amahugurwa bariho, byose n'imbaraga ziba zigerageza, abantu baba bagerageza gukoresha kugira ngo ibintu birusheho kumera neza. Twakongeramo umurego rero, nibwira ko mu myaka yindi 7 iza hari ibintu byinshi bitagenda neza muri ibyo by'ubuzima, byinshi ngira ngo mujya mubibona. Hari abafungwa abagira bate, amafaranga bakoresheje nabi, agomba kujya kubaka ibitaro ugasanga abantu bayanyereje bayatwaye. Byose bifitanye isano, ntabwo ari, ariko inzego zibishinzwe ziba ziri aho zirwana nabyo. Arakomeza guhugura abantu, gukomeza kugira ngo bakore uko bikwiye kuba bikenewe, bishakwa, amikoro abashyirwamo kugira ngo akoreshwe uko akwiye gukoreshwa. Abantu bakoresha nabi bakayajyana mu bindi, ababibazwa benshi barahari. Ibyo byose uvuga rero ni muri ubwo buryo bigenda bibaho. Nta nubwo ari ku muvuduko w'ikura ry'umubare w'abantu mu gihugu gusa bigiraho ingaruka, bigira ingaruka no ku buzima bw'abantu bwabo rwose. Ibyo ntabwo twakwirirwa tubinyura iruhande, cyangwa ntabwo twabivuga nk'ikibazo gishya cyavutse, ahubwo twabivuga mu buryo nyine bwo gushakisha uko twahangana nabyo, tukagabanya umubare w'ibikorwa bidakwiye kuba bikorwa, cyangwa se akazi katari keza uko karushaho kugenda kaba keza. Naho kugabanya umubare w'abantu nabyo mukwiye kongeraho, ni ukubigabanya ku buryo bikwiye. Kugabanya ntabwo ari ugufunga. Nibwira ko abanyarwanda tugifite igice kinini cyo kongera umubare wacu, ariko umubare wacu ukwiye kugendera ku bushobozi. Buri muryango wakongera umubare bitewe n'ubushobozi bafite. Muri rusange igihugu cyacu kikongera umubare bijyanye n'ubushobozi igihugu gifite. Hari ibipimo byinshi abantu bagenda bakoresha, abantu bakurikiza, harimo no kongera amikoro n'imikorere myiza mu bijyanye n'ubuzima rusange bw'abantu. Tukitondera rimwe na rimwe umaze kubibonaho ibihugu byinshi ubundi ko umubare w'abantu ugenda wiyongera mu gihugu, hari aho bigera bigahagarara. Uburyo busubizaho abantu kugira ngo igihugu gikomeze gitere imbere cyo kuzaba igihugu aho igihugu cyabaye cy'abantu bashaje gusa nacyo buriya bifite uko bigomba gukorwa ku buryo buri gice kigenda kigira umubare mu myaka 10 muri 20 30 ukaba uzi ngo aba bazaba basimbuye uru rugero abandi bashaje n'abandi baza ibyo byose ni ibintu abantu bakwiriye tugomba gukurikirana neza cyane cyane tukarushaho no muri iyi myaka iri imbere ubuzima bwiza abakora mu bijyanye n'ubuzima bakora akazi bahuguriwe bumva bakora neza hari n'abahuguwe batsinda n'ibyo bizame barangiza bagakorana nabi nabyo ni ibintu byinshi abantu ntabwo bivuze ko ukora nabi ari uko abatahuguwe cyangwa atazi gukora ibyo akora abenshi bangiza ibintu baba bazi nuko bikwiriye kuba bikora bakabyangiza bazi icyo bakora ariko ibyo byose ni ibintu igihugu gihora gihanganye nabyo abantu bose bari hano bagomba kugiramo uruhare kugira ngo imikorere myiza irusheho kugenda iba neza.
Okay. In the middle.
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, nitwa Christophe Itayezu, mpagarariye urubuga nonaha.com. Abanyarwanda nonaha.com.
Okay.
Hafi miliyoni enye z'abanyarwanda zanditse zisaba ko inzitizi zari zari mu itegeko nshinga zavanwaho mugakomeza kuyobora ndetse banabishimangira muri referendum. Uretse kuba itegeko nshinga ribigena ko amatora agomba kubaho, nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, murabona aya matora hari competition irimo cyangwa n'ubundi no gukurikiza ibyo constitution ivuga? Ese ikindi turebye komisiyo y'amatora iminsi yageneye campaign ni mikeya ugereranyije n'umubare w'uturere. Mwabwira iki umunyarwanda uri hariya wananditse wasabye yuko mwakongera kwiyamamaza unafite inyota yo kubabona mwiyamamariza aho ngaho hatuye, mwamubwira iki ufite impungenge z'uko atazabasha kubabona bitewe n'uko wenda igihe cyabaye gito ntimugere aho ngaho hatuye? Murakoze cyane.
Igihe ntabwo nibwira ko ari gito, kandi icyo nasezeranya nuko abenshi tuzabageraho cyangwa bose tuzabageraho. Wenda ntituzagera muri buri rugo rwa buri munyarwanda, ariko buri karere ahenshi tuzahagera, niba ko tuzahagera. Icyo ntabwo ari ikibazo kinini. Ikibazo kindi wabanjirijeho ngira ngo ari cyo wenda abantu bakwibandaho, competition buriya yarabaye n'ubu birakomeza. Yarabaye tujya kunyura muri ibyo byose wavuze, buriya iyo referendum ni competition ijyana n'ihitamo, ni competition. So competition yatangiye imbere ya bariya abantu ibihumbi miliyoni wavuze z'abariya abantu bajya gukora biriya nabyo ni competition. Bijya gutuma referendum iba ni competition. Abantu bajya gutora muri referendum ni competition, kuko baba batora hagati yo guhitamo. Icyo ni competition. N'ubu muri aya matora azaba competition irimo, cya mbere buriya harimo nabo mwamaze kutubwira, ariko bamwe bafite ibibazo bahura n'abaturage bakabagirira nabi bitari byo, nabyo ni competition. Ariko niyo bitaba byo, icyo abera ni ukuvuga ngo ariko aba bantu miliyoni zingahe referendum ugiye gutora, turebe umubare. Buriya umubare w'ibizavamo bikwereka niba hari umuntu watekerezaga ko bikwiye kuba ukundi, ntabwo azajya muri uriya mubare bitirira icyavuyemo mu batowe. Urumva icyo nshaka kuvuga? Ni nka referendum. Referendum ni amatora, ni competition. N'ibiyakurikira uko biba bimeze kose ni competition. Wenda hazajya amatora havemo amajwi 70% ku batoye. Ni ukuvuga ngo 30 ntabwo bemeranyaga n'abo 70%. Urabyumva? Ni competition.